The invitation was never meant to be taken seriously. When Emily slipped her ex-boyfriend's name onto the guest list, she did it with a smirk. Like he'd ever show up, she whispered to her bridesmaids. After all, Jacob, her high school sweetheart, wasn't just her ex. He was a single dad of 4, a veteran who had left the military with nothing but scars and responsibilities. In her mind, he was the kind of man who worked odd jobs, scraped by, and certainly wouldn't be able to step foot into the extravagant ballroom where her high society wedding was taking place. The joke, she thought, would be harmless. But jokes have a funny way of backfiring. The guests were already buzzing as Emily made her grand entrance in a lace gown. Cameras flashed. The groom stood tall at the altar. Everything looked perfect, until the double doors at the back of the hall swung open. Heads turned. Whispers started. And then, silence. There he was. Jacob. But not the Jacob she remembered. Not the boy she had left behind for a life of luxury. This Jacob wore a tailored suit, crisp and commanding. At his side, 4 children, beautiful, well-dressed, polite, stood like little stars orbiting him. Behind him, 2 men in dark suits carried his bags. And outside, visible through the glass doors, a private jet sat waiting on the runway. Walking beside him, laughing as though they were old friends, was a man everyone in the room recognized instantly, Richard Hayes, one of the country's top CEOs. Emily nearly dropped her bouquet. The last time she had spoken to Jacob, it hadn't ended well. She remembered the night vividly, years ago, when he had returned from deployment, broken and struggling to adjust. She had wanted parties, bright lights, and a future that sparkled. Jacob had wanted peace, healing, and a family. She left claiming he wasn't enough for her dreams. But Jacob hadn't begged her to stay. Instead, he raised his head high and walked away. And while she built a life chasing appearances, he built something different. Something real. As Jacob moved down the aisle, his children clung to his hands. The eldest boy straightened his little brother's tie. His daughter clutched her father's arm like he was her hero. And in that moment, it was clear, Jacob wasn't just a man who survived. He was a man who had thrived. When he finally reached Emily, he smiled politely, not bitterly, not arrogantly, just peacefully. "Congratulations," he said simply. It was the kind of word that carried more weight than applause. Emily's groom leaned forward, trying to mask his discomfort. But then the CEO, Richard Hayes, clapped Jacob on the back. "This man," Richard boomed proudly, "saved my son's life. In Afghanistan. I owed him everything. When we reconnected years later, I knew I had to bring him into my company. He's not just my friend, he's my partner." The room gasped. Jacob, a partner to one of the most powerful businessmen in the country? Emily's cheeks flushed red. The joke invitation suddenly felt like the cruelest thing she had ever done. For a moment, Emily couldn't breathe. She remembered mocking him for being too simple, for dreaming of a big family instead of big cities. And now, standing before her, Jacob had both. Wealth, influence, respect. But more importantly, love. The kind of love that radiated from his children's eyes when they looked at him. Her fiancé shifted uncomfortably, noticing the murmurs among the guests. The bride's smile faltered. She suddenly saw the truth. Everything she had chased, status, money, approval, felt shallow compared to the quiet strength of the man she once had. But Jacob, instead of gloating, extended kindness. During the reception, while whispers continued to fly, he walked up to Emily and offered his hand. "Don't worry," he said gently. "I'm not here to ruin your day. I just wanted to wish you well. We were kids back then. We both had a lot to learn." His words disarmed her. They weren't bitter. They weren't sharp. They were filled with something she hadn't expected: grace. Tears welled in Emily's eyes. For the first time, she realized she had underestimated him not just as a man, but as a human being. As Jacob left the wedding, his kids giggled around him. Richard's jet waited to take them on another adventure. He had built a new life, not by chasing validation, but by pouring himself into service, family, and perseverance. Emily watched, frozen in her gown, as the man she once called not enough walked out of the ballroom with everything she had ever truly wanted. And she knew, he didn't come to show off. He came to show her, and maybe himself, that kindness doesn't keep score, and real strength never needs revenge.